Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mind Your Mission podcast, where we encourage Christian women to stay on track towards God's original intent for their lives. And today I'm super excited because we have Erin's sister, Ann, joining us on the podcast. And I know Ann personally. We have spent a lot of time together the past few years. We both went on a mission trip to Costa Rica a few years ago, and I saw her around the academy since she was Erin's sister, and Erin and I were friends. And I also saw her at Erin's wedding. And then the three of us also attended the LO Sister Conference together last year, I think, and so maybe 2 years ago. But she is one of my closest friend's sisters, so I feel like I know you pretty well, and I'm super excited to dive into today's conversation.
Yeah, that conference that we all went to was actually where you first got interested in podcasting with me. So I think it's, full circle. But yes, I am so excited to have you here today, Anne. You have inspired me in so many ways over the years. And as my younger sister, you are my biggest role model, honestly. But in today's episode, we are going to be specifically talking about minding our mission in our education. You are currently in nursing school, and while your path has been a bit unconventional, it has been very motivating and honestly very, very wise. That's probably the best word that I can think of for your path. And I can't wait to dive into that with you. But before we do, Anne, could you share a little bit about your story, how you grew up, I guess how we kind of grew up, and what brought you to the Lord, and then what first sparked your interest in becoming a nurse?
Yeah, thank you both so much for having me. This is exciting. I actually just got a memory exactly 5 years ago. We were in Costa Rica. It was a video of you, Liz. And so that was crazy that was 5 years ago and that we get to do this today. So thanks for having me. This is going to be fun. So yeah, I'll give us a little backstory about what we're going to be talking about, and then share a bit of my testimony, which is also part of the reason why I chose a career in nursing, and explain kind of the route I took in education to get here. Definitely not a linear straight route. It's everywhere, but it's been a blessing and I wouldn't change it. So in 2012, I was 8 years old. I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a type of blood cancer. And it wasn't a quick diagnosis either. It wasn't like a one blood test here, you have cancer. It took 4 months to diagnose with multiple blood work, recurrent random symptoms. They thought they would know like what was going on, give me medication, then it would change kind of how it was presenting. So it was definitely not an easy process to get it diagnosed. And it wasn't until a researcher in Pittsburgh actually diagnosed it after a biopsy was done and sent to him. So 4 months to diagnose, then I was inpatient with chemotherapy, multiple different surgical procedures for about 6 months. I think the hardest part for an 8-year-old was just being unable to, losing my hair was the biggest part that I was like, I can't do this. Like, when they told me I had cancer, I was like, okay, but I'm not going to, like, lose my hair. Because, you hear about cancer as an 8-year-old, and you just think about, like, the bald people in the commercials. Anyway, so the hardest part was definitely, like, being in the hospital is just lonely. Like, not being able to hang out with friends, not being able to go to school, not being able to go to gymnastics and swimming. And this is off topic, but whenever I'm, like, talking about this story, it definitely brings me back to like the feeling I had being in the hospital. And it's just a good reminder to like be thankful for life, like be thankful for the simple, like, wow, I got to wake up today, wow, I get to go to work. Like Monday morning, that's the last thing I want to do is get up and go to work, and then come home and have to clean the house and now feed your family, like the stressors. But it's not until like all those get taken from you where you get to realize like the simple joys are such a blessing. So I just always remember that, like, whew, there's people in the hospital right now, like, would do anything to walk outside. Like, so, just a good reminder for us. So, back on track. I was in the hospital for 6 months, and now I've been cancer-free for the past 13 years? That's a long time. 13 years, yeah. I would never wish that experience on anyone. Like, I would never want anyone to have to go through that, but it's definitely made me and shaped me into the person that I am today, and the time where I really got to know and trust the Lord. My testimony is very specific, and it's not one that many people, I think, get to experience. I was waking up from a surgery, and I was in the PACU, the post-anesthesia care unit. I was waking up. I was in so much pain. I was uncomfortable. I was scared. My mom and dad hadn't been brought back into the room yet. And to top it all off, I had like the worst nurse, like of all time. I mean, shout out to Children's Hospital. They have awesome nurses and staff, but like this one, she was having a rough day. She was just rude, like ignorant. But in that moment, I was like I was just felt so alone, like afraid, broken, alone, stressed, fearful. Like, I don't know where I am. You're like groggy coming off of anesthesia. I just remember laying there waiting for my parents to be brought back. And I closed my eyes. And in that moment, I literally saw Jesus, and he talked to me and said, like, I'm with you and you're going to be okay. And like after that encounter, it was just instant peace. And I was kind of in awe and shock in a way too. Like, people don't get to just experience that. And it's not until now, like, I realize like how big of a deal that was. But it was a very like slap in the face, like just so clear to me of who he is and like what his promises were to me and for my life, like in that moment and what I was going through. And just like him telling me he had me, like, and I think it's so quick, like, so he walked through with like the hardest part of my life with me, and he made that promise to me, and he's followed me ever since. And like I said, I know everyone's story is not this clear. It's not like this. And there's times where he puts us in these situations where we're like, dude, no, like, what are we doing here? I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. Like, I can't physically, mentally do this. Like, this wasn't my plans. This door just slammed in my face. Like, but I promise you, and this is one of my favorite, like, things that I go back to. If he puts you to it, he'll put you through it. And I love just reminding that, whether it be like hardship in our day-to-day life, like whatever he brings, even in the moment, if you don't see like what he's going to reveal, if he puts you to it, he'll get you through it. And it's always the best part. Like, it might be even 13 years down the line where you realize, oh, so what you did then brought me to here. Another thing that I like to talk about when I'm talking about this too is the idea of like when everything gets stripped from your life, like your family, your friends, your health, like whatever it be. And that can be like dramatic, but it's like, what are you holding on to? What's your hope? Like, what's your faith? And I want everyone to be able to have that hope and faith, because it's incredible. So yeah, that experience, if you didn't guess already, is the reason why I wanted to become a nurse. Is definitely my calling from a very young age. And being in the hospital, I wanted so badly to be the nurse caring for the sick kid and not the sick kid stuck in the hospital bed. The nurses would always like bring me different supplies, like blood draw tubes and different things to play with, because I wanted to be them. I didn't want this title of sick kid hanging on over my head. So yeah, I'm currently working as an LPN, licensed practical nurse, and in school to get my bachelor's in nursing.
Thank you so much for sharing, Anne. Your story is so powerful, and a couple of things you said that really stuck with me is you said be thankful for life, like having the mindset, I get to go to work, I get to go to school, I get to do this, because lately, especially with like the dark ages, is that what they call them? I feel like I've just been more negative and not really enjoying going to work, or like drudging through my walks in the cold. I know, Erin, you also walk in the cold, and sometimes it's like, but that's like, I get to walk, especially since having my surgery. It's not nowhere near the same level as cancer diagnosis and going through that, but it has made me more appreciative of just being able to even walk, because there was a couple weeks where I couldn't get out of bed and couldn't walk around. So I'm just so thankful for that. And you also said the simple joys are such a blessing. So it goes along with that too. I just really like how something so hard when you were 8 years old can shape your mindset for life. Like, you are completely different than who you were before that diagnosis. And I wanted to ask a question, because it was so cool how when you woke up, you just felt the presence of Jesus and felt him say that he was right there with you. What was your relationship like before that moment with Jesus? Like, how involved was he in your life, I guess? How much did you like include him in your life? And then what did it look like after this encounter with Jesus?
Yeah, we definitely, grew up in a family where like going to church, that was a thing. Like, it was a thing we did, but I don't think it's not until you have one of those experiences, like, it has to be personal. Like, you can grow up in my opinion, it has to be personal. You can grow up in a Christian family that goes to church, but until you have like your own experience and your own meaning of like, what does it mean to follow Jesus? What does it mean to like trust him with my entire life? And so I'd say like, yes, I knew him, believed in him, like knew the basics of it. But until I had that experience and that encounter, it's like, whoa. And throughout like my time in the hospital, so my dad and sister would stay home, and my mom and I would go like inpatient at the hospital. And so my mom was staying. So it was definitely difficult for our family too. Like we were divided, but like together as much as we could. But my mom and I like would play and sing worship music. Like some of the dark nights, like we couldn't sleep, or I was in pain, or I was uncomfortable, like whatever it was, like that was our go-to, was like listening to music, just praying about it. And I know my mom had her own like experience where like she encountered Jesus and he was like she's gonna be okay. I'm walking you through like with you guys, like hand in hand. And I think if we didn't have that faith to like lean on, I don't know how people would get through an experience like that. And like, because yeah, that experience would really easily break up a family or break up your relationships. But when you're looking at something greater and you're relying on something else to get you through those hardships, so yeah, I'd definitely say yes, but not until that. I was like, okay.
So were you a Christian before Erin? And then did you like bring it up to her, like your experience, and kind of share it with her? Because I know she kind of became a Christian in college, which is a long time after this happened.
It's kind of funny. This was after cancer, but I would always try to get her to go to youth group with me. I like went to this youth group and it was like so fun. I loved it with great people. And I was like, Erin, come on. Like I was like super. And I think it's also like the idea of like how your faith can go like in waves. Like 1 minute you're on a high, like when life is good, or like the moment you're like, this sucks. Like what even is this? I don't understand. But I also think like that's why we need Christian community, so that when you're down and she's up, like she can bring me up. When she's down, I'm up. And so, but technically, yes.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting story because from my perspective, like Anne mentioned, my mom and sister, so they both went to the hospital and my dad and I were home. And when you ask about our family's faith before cancer, like Anne mentioned, we went to church. We believed in God, but I would almost say we believed in God like we believed in Santa Claus. Like we knew he was real, but that's kind of as far as it went. And I remember witnessing their relationship with the Lord change, and through them realizing that a relationship with the Lord is even a thing. Before, I just thought that God was somebody you believed in, and that if you do good things, you'll go to heaven. That was kind of the extent of it. But watching them fall in love with Jesus, actually, it was very cool, but also made me feel a little bit left out. And I remember when I watched them get baptized, I just didn't understand. I'm like, because they asked me if I wanted to get baptized too. And I was like, well, I don't feel what you feel. And I want to feel what you feel, but I don't yet. And that kind of started the questioning process for me. And I had so many other things in my life that I was clinging to more than Jesus, that up until college, like God graciously walked me to college and stripped those things from me, like he did with Anne with cancer. He stripped those things from me and made me realize that the thing I was searching for in all those worldly things was him. I just was doing it in all the wrong places. So I think it's cool to look back and see just Anne's continued sisterhood and faithfulness to me, that she always invited but never judged and just wanted what was best for me. And then now we get to walk as sisters in Christ together, and it's incredible. So
yeah, I love both of your stories, and it was so awesome to get to see you walk through it, Erin, and then to hear about your story, Anne. And I think it's so cool how this hard experience God used for the good, and also used it so that you could find out what you wanted to do later in life. And you're in nursing school now because of it, which is just so awesome. And I have such a big appreciation for nurses after my surgery. Like, I don't think I could have gotten through it without them. You're talking about the mean nurse, and that made me laugh, but I had amazing nurses in my surgery because I was so anxious the day of. And just the lady that I had a couple nurses, but the first lady that I had was just like the kindest, sweetest soul ever. And it just made me, I just had so much peace that day from the Lord, and just how he blessed me with such great nurses. So I just thank you for what you're doing. I think any nurses that are listening to this, for what you're doing, because your attitude, your positive energy, like it truly does make a difference. And if you're following Christ, like you can be such a light to so many different patients and really exercise your gifts in taking care of people. So just thank you for what you're doing and the work that you're putting into your education.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely think like nursing is such a beautiful way to like, you get to go to work every day. You're doing Jesus's work. Like you're serving people, you're loving people, you're seeing them in their most like vulnerable, like sick, hard place, but you get to be that person, you get to be that light, and it's a blessing. I like what I do.
So, Ian, I know that back in March of 2020, so 5 years ago now, like exactly since it's March, which is crazy. Back then, you, I know, were facing some challenges with in-person classes already, not necessarily because of the academic side, but more so just because of the school environment and the challenges that come with being a freshman in high school. And I remember you mentioning how you wanted to switch to online school already, and then COVID hit, and it really became a gift to you in some ways. It gave you the opportunity to take control of your education rather than letting it control you. Can you explain that transition and just how that went down for you?
Yeah, 8th grade, freshman year, even into sophomore year were hard. Like, obviously, that's a time where there's already, like, so much change happening, like, physically, hormonally, socially. It's a time where you kind of have to make that decision of, like, what friend group you're going to follow, what kind of things, like, you're going to prioritize in your life. There's also a lot of pressure to, like, take the classes that are going to align with your career and set you up successfully. And make sure you also take honors classes so that you can get the good scholarships. And you're also, I think, wrestling a lot with your family's values and expectations that they have for you. And, like, looking back, like, yes, our parents had pretty high standards for us, and I wouldn't personally change that at all because it is, like, what has gotten me to today and why I have some of the work ethic and self-discipline for myself that I do. But it does just make the pressure to, like, do all the things, to enroll in the honors classes, to be involved in ASB, sports, etc. I was a very well-rounded kid, and the lessons, again, and hardships that I learned from all of those, I wouldn't necessarily want to take away or change. But you're at this time of your life where you know your family standards, their values, what they want for you, but you're also like becoming an independent person, trying to make those decisions for yourself as you like enter adolescence and all the things. So it's definitely a hard time for me. And of course, among all the inevitable things that high schoolers face, it was also the year that Erin left. She had gone to the academy, and we grew up super close and have only gotten closer through the years, but dealing with the loss of my best friend, and it's not like she's a 3-hour drive away at the college in the next town. Like, she's across the country at a military academy as far away as she could possibly be, and it's not like I can just text her because she doesn't have her phone through, like, Swab Summer and all the things. So it's just, like, a multitude of things and a lot of change, and it was hard. Another thing that was difficult is it's a blessing, but it was also hard. My cancer experience definitely made me mature a lot quicker. So I always kind of felt more mature than my peers. And I had this plan in my head to just get into adulthood, get into my career as fast as I could. Like, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to do. Like, why do I have to go through these silly high school classes like that aren't any like geometry? I'm not going to use anyway. Can get into it. But I think there's a reason for that too, like why you have to go through the process, and you absolutely 100% don't have to go into high school knowing what you're going to do. And I think 99% of the people don't. Like, even if you're senior year, you don't know what you're going to be doing. Like, that's okay too. And I'll dive into that more later too. But looking back at my high school experience, I hope it can be a word of encouragement for girls and people that are feeling this way and just wanting to go online, not wanting to go to school, just kind of feeling stuck. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know what you're going to do. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. And I think the right doors and opportunities will open too at the right time. But I felt stuck in this routine, and I wasn't going to share this, but I'm going to, because I think it was a moment of hitting rock bottom that we all have to kind of feel at times. But I was sad and lost, and I had written this poem on my phone, just a depressing poem one night. I was sitting in bed, I had typed out this poem. Sure enough, my English class, my teacher had given us an assignment, and I had written this before. We had written the assignment to like turn in these 2 different poems, and I it's not in a good spot. I was not having it, so I ended up turning in Erin's poem that she had written and saved, because I was like, I don't want to turn in my poem that like is really dark. Like, it was just, I was not in a good spot. And then that's kind of like where I hit like rock bottom, and I was just full of shame when he like returned it to me and was like, you're gonna have to redo this, like this is your sister's work. And he did it in a very respectful way, like not in front of like peers or anything. And so I ended up like going back at lunch and turning in the pressing poem. But after that, like I talked to my parents about it, cried myself to sleep that night. Like I was just like, this is not me. Like, what am I doing? This is not like, I just felt broken. I was like, whew, this is rough. So a month or so later after that, in March of 2020, so exactly 5 years, I got the opportunity to go with you guys on that mission trip to Costa Rica, with the rest of the group from the academy. And this trip came at a really good time for me. It was a really good reset, kind of refocus on like what matters in this world. And so March of 2020, I don't know if you guys want to maybe share a little bit about how that trip went in regards to the time frame and coming back, and how like kind of diverted flights.
Yeah, so we went to Costa Rica the second week of March, I think, in 2020. And we departed on spring break from the academy and went to Costa Rica. And then instead of going back to the academy, we went home. So Anne met us there, and instead of flying back with the rest of my classmates and everybody, I flew back with her because we were sent home, stay home for another week. We'll extend spring break, which ended up being, okay, we'll extend the whole semester to be online from your bedrooms at home. So that transition time we're going to talk about in future episodes. But just to put some context there, we went to Costa Rica, all flew to Texas, and then from Texas, we all departed back to our respective homes.
Yeah. So, and we all know that 2 weeks of break turned into years. And so I actually never ended up going back to high school, like normal classes. I went through like March of, I know, big bummer, but also exactly what I was praying for and wanting. So I finished off my sophomore year online, and then my town has, I think a lot of people do, I'm not super sure how common, but called Running Start. It's a program where your local community college pairs up with your high school, and while you're in high school, you're able to take college classes while you're still in high school. So you have the ability to graduate with your associate's degree. So I started taking these classes summer after my sophomore year. So I actually started a year earlier. I was like, let's get this done. So I started sophomore year, year before I started junior year, and they were all online still because COVID was still a thing. But eventually I still went to the high school for orchestra and still participated in sports. So I was able to still like stay connected somewhat with my peers that way. But I found out that I like absolutely thrived doing work at home. Like I realized, wow, I can get all my work done that we would typically do in 7 hours of sitting in a classroom in 2 to 3 hours. And now I have time to work out, to go take a walk, to just dance on the TV was a big thing in our house during COVID that we did a lot. And so the timing of all this was definitely a blessing for me. I know it wasn't easy for everyone, so I don't want to say like online's the way to go, because it's not, if it's not for you. But it was definitely what worked for me. But yeah, I was just happy that I was kind of moving on, working towards something that I actually was going to enjoy and work toward my dream of being a nurse. So I took classes every quarter, and then I met with my advisor kind of to set up so that I would be able to take all of my prerequisite classes that are needed to get into nursing school at the same time that I graduated high school, which is very uncalled for and does not happen often. But I was fortunate enough to be able to complete all those, also at a way lower cost, because through Running Start, you're only paying like $200 a quarter because it's through your high school still. So then after I graduated high school, I graduated with my associate degree and my nursing prereqs. I enrolled in the CNA program at our community college, which is Certified Nursing Assistant, and that was just a 1 quarter program at our local college. And I knew very early on that going to a 4-year university was just not for me. Like, it just seemed kind of silly to me to spend thousands of dollars to go to a university just to get the same degree that I could get at a community college for way less. and then still be able to come out of college with a degree, a successful job, and no debt. And I think at times, like, people would say you're missing out on the college experience. That was just not something that I felt like I needed. I was actually talking to my mom the other night about this. I was cleaning my room and I found a bunch of papers. I had, like, sat down on my computer and went through, like, every single community college in Washington State. I looked at, like, all the different programs they had, which ones had bachelor's degree in nursing, which ones didn't, the required prerequisites, and it was just, like, this big chart, and, like, okay, crossing off, I can't apply there, oh, I'll have these ones in time, like, all the different things. So, but I definitely knew that that's what I was wanting to do. Yeah, and I don't want to put down going to a 4-year university either. Like, that's an incredible option, and if you know what you want to study and what you want to do, then absolutely, like, go for it, spread your wings, go meet people, develop friendships. But I also think that so many times there's just so much pressure and stigma that that's the only option out of high school, is to go to a 4-year degree. But how often do we see people, like, go to a university, complete their 4 years of school, get a degree that they might not have any interest in or know what kind of job they can get with that degree, come home, live with their parents, now they're in thousands of dollars of debt with no secure job. And so I don't know, I want to emphasize, like, I'm by no means saying that that's a bad option. However, I want people to know that there's so many other options out there. And if you're a senior in high school and don't know what you want to do, be okay with that. Like, take a year to stay home, get a job in your hometown, make some money, pray about it, sit on it, and when you finally know what you want to do, go do it. Like, don't feel so much pressure to immediately just go to a 4-year university because, like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, part of the title of Mind Your Mission is kind of, it's mind your helm, meaning stay on course, but it's also mind your business, meaning we should be seeking our authority and direction from the Lord and not from what society tells us is good or bad. And I definitely, from the high school we went to, like, I felt the pressure from our small town to get out of the small town, to go to a big school, to have a plan. Like, in order to be successful, you had to have a plan, you had to know what you were doing. I felt that, and I definitely let the standard of our town, of the world, dictate my decisions. And I don't regret the path that I chose. I chose a path that would keep doors open and give me a solid foundation because I, contrary to you, didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so I don't regret it, but there was definitely part of me that wanted people to know that I had a plan and that I was going to be successful. And I think that I was too prideful to be okay with working while I figured things out, or even just staying local. I was too prideful for that. And the successful path to me seemed to be leaving, going to a well-known school, and, well, that's kind of where the conversation ended. There wasn't much focus on what came after college, like you're talking about. And I'm lucky that at a military academy, a guaranteed 5-year job follows. But in many cases, I think that people think about school without considering what comes beyond that, both financially and in terms of whether they're truly passionate about what they're studying. And so I find a lot of motivation from you that you are so passionate about what you're doing. And I also, knowing how you did school before this time versus after, there was a clear shift. Like, I don't remember you ever being interested in studying. I actually remember Dad, like, saying, Anne, you might want to, like, care more about your handwriting and be a little bit more organized. Like, I remember him saying that, like, you didn't care back then, but when you found what you were interested in and what God was calling you to, then there was more intentionality behind your studying, your actions. You found a reason to not procrastinate and to actually care. So I was just wondering if you would talk about the intentional piece, how finding something that you were interested in and feeling a calling towards, how that changed what your pursuit looked like, how it changed your habits to be more honoring to that calling that God had put on your heart.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, middle school, high school, I went through the motions to go through the motions. Like, I turned in the assignments to turn in the assignment, whether I asked a friend to send me the assignment because I didn't understand it, so I could, copy and copy, but, like, I didn't understand. I didn't care. I didn't care about knowing, like, whatever it was. But as soon as, like, I recognized, first of all, like, I'm passionate about nursing. And the practicality side, like, yes, I have to know. Like, I have to know how to administer medication and the right meds to give and the right, lives are on the line. So like that part of it. But just when you love something, like you want to be the best. I want to be the best nurse that I can be for both myself and for my patients. And so I oftentimes do, like, I think about, even sometimes at work where I'm tired and I'm like, this patient's annoying me, or like, oh, like I put myself into that situation of being that patient, or like being in that vulnerable situation when I was in the hospital. Like, I don't want my nurse to come in and just like go through the motions just to go through the motions. Like, I love talking with my patients. I love like being the person to sit down and ask them their story and to get to know them. That's like very off topic to what you asked me, but once you recognize like what you're doing, why you're doing it, like you have to put in the work to be the best person that you can be for your patients. And also, this is not what you talked about or what you just asked me, but I also wanted to, I just reminded me that when I graduated after my CNA program, I applied to a RN program at the college that I'm currently at. And I applied to it. I didn't get in. And I was like, okay, like that's okay. I wasn't expecting to get in because I didn't get all the points for the prereqs because I was still currently taking them. So I didn't get like all those. But I was like, I'll get an extra point next time I apply, so I'll just do it. But I didn't apply there, or I didn't get in there. And then I had this situation where I had all these scholarships, and I was going to wait a year. I was planning on like, I'll work as a CNA and then like apply next year. And I was okay with like, again, just waiting and then starting school when the right time came. But then I found out that my scholarships, like they were all going to be taken from me if I didn't like enroll in school that next quarter. And so I was just like frustrated because I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, because I've worked hard and I got ahead and have all my nursing prereqs done, like you're going to take this money from me. So I was like looking online that night, and like it was like 7-8 p.m. and I was just looking on websites at the college, and I saw this LPN program. I had no idea what an LPN was. I didn't know what it stand for. I didn't know like anything. And I saw it, and the application deadline for that program was due that night. And I was looking at like the requirements for like what classes I would need. And then I saw that they had like an LPN to RN bridge program and an LPN to BSN bridge program. And I was like, well, whatever. Like, I literally applied to this program out of frustration because I was like, you're kidding me. Like, oh, so I was like, whatever, I won't get in, but like, I'm just going to do it. So I know I did everything I can. So I ended up getting into that program. And then I don't know if you've talked about this, but again, it's like in the moment, it's like, dude, like you're slamming these doors in my face. Like, why? Why are you doing this? Like, I had this perfect plan. I've done everything right. And now I'm getting like, feels like you're getting punished. So like you take one step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing. But then that year is the year that Erin got pregnant with baby. And she was due in December, and my program ended, or due January, but my program finished the beginning of December. And it was like such a blessing that I got to go down, visit Erin for like, what was it, like 3 weeks before he was born, and like 2 weeks after he was born. And so I literally got to like spend such a long time with you. And like looking back, if I would have gotten into that other program, I wouldn't have had that time to go do that and to be there, which is like a big priority. And I'm so thankful that I got to be there, and it was amazing. But it's just that whole idea of like trusting the long process and his plan that like, and it's so fun when you like, he reveals it to you and you get to look back and be like, oh, okay, like, wow, that worked really well. And now I've just gotten work experience, and I've gotten to like get an income and experience to like for this next program. And so it's definitely all worked out.
Yeah, and it's cool too, because as things in life have come up for you and I that have been frustrating like that, we go back to that exact moment you're talking about so often, and we're like, remember, like God made it work so much better than we thought he was going to. Like, why would we worry moving forward? And that's just so important to have. I talked about journaling a few weeks ago. Like, it's so important to write those things down, to remember what he's done in your own life, to go back to the word and say what he's done there, just to remember his faithfulness. And that if we're walking in obedience, like you're walking according to the calling he's put on your heart to be a nurse. Like, you're just walking that out obediently. You're going to work as a CNA. Okay, I'll just do this LPN program, even if it's not the 4-year program I thought I wanted to do. You're walking in obedience, taking one step at a time, trusting him all the way through. And that's all that he asks of us. He doesn't ask us to be the best nurse in the world with the most degrees and the most awards on our wall. He just asks you to do life with him. And that's exactly what you've done. And it's been super encouraging. And like you're saying, it's opened more doors for you than you would have gotten otherwise. You got to spend all the time with me. You've also gotten real life job experience, which you wouldn't have gotten as much if you just went right into school. Like, you've had real patients, you've worked with coworkers who have experience, you've gotten all that real life stuff, which is probably way more valuable than all the book study, even though that there is value in that too. So
back to, I know you talked to me like a little bit about how I like to study, just the more practical stuff of going to school, because it's hard, and it's hard to find a rhythm and what works best for you. My recommendation, number 1, don't procrastinate. Like, find the time of day that studying works best for you and get your stuff done then. Like, for me, it's 7 a.m. in the morning with a cup of coffee. Like, my brain's turned on. I can get it done and remember. Find your learning style. Recognize, like, what works best for you. And then study based off of how you retain that information best. So, for me, that's not reading the textbook. Like, I don't even buy the books that are required for my classes anymore because I don't read them. I spend $250, $50, and then they just sit there. I like watching like animated videos. Like, I'll go over the lecture and then understand the concepts and then look up videos. It's actually really funny. The other day I was studying and I was watching a video, and Brennan, my fiance, goes, "Are you watching Blippi?" Because, like, the video is so animated, and, like, that's just how I learn. Like, I need color. I need funny ways to, like, remember things. So find your own, like, you don't have to just do or use the resources that your teacher gives you. Like, use them, but then go off of them. I write notes as I go. I'm a big fan of flashcards, color coding things. Like, write your stuff down. Don't just type it, because handwriting it really helps. Going through the flashcards, and then sitting down, quizzing yourself. I like to teach people. Like, I'm like, you don't have to listen to me. I'm just going to, like, talk about some stuff and teach you about how this works, because, like, active recall is super helpful. And then my last advice, which I've just recently figured out with AI, is, like, right before my test or my quiz, I'll go on, like, AI Gemini, and I'll type in, quiz me about blah, blah, blah. Quiz me about cardiac defects in the newborn. And then, like, it just, like, generates so many questions, and I just answer them, because it's like a confidence booster of, like, oh, I know this stuff. Like, I can explain it to you. And so that's my practical advice for studying.
How many more years do you have left?
I'll graduate summer of 26 for this program. And then
and that's for the LPN program?
That's for the BSN, so bachelor's in nursing.
Okay, so once you're done with that, you'll have your bachelor's in nursing. Because you did, I'm going to get all these acronyms. CNA,
don't blame you.
CNA to LPN to now BSN.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to continue on any more in your education, or is that it, and then you'll go work as a nurse?
My goal is nurse practitioner. And I think it's kind of cool too. Like, some of the providers I work with, like the best providers, the nurse practitioners, are the ones who have worked as a CNA, like, have done the, like, low man on the totem pole's job of cleaning up people and wiping people. Like, but you gain so much respect, and you're a better practitioner because, like, you know what it's like. So I think that's cool too, to, like, know, like, CNA, LPN, BSN, like, you're just building your way, but, you know, like, patient-centered care and being more personable. So I think that's cool. But yeah, that's the goal.
I need to send you, Erin probably knows Taylor Duke's Wellness. She's, like, been on some podcasts and stuff, but she's a nurse practitioner, but she's, like, an integrative one. And so it's so interesting.
Cool.
Like, I'll send you some of her stuff, but
Anne's goal is to one day own her own holistic health clinic, and I'm going to be the secretary and do the social media because, you know, that's what I'm good for.
Gonna focus on wellness, not illness.
Yeah. Today I was on a walk and I was like, wow, that'd be kind of cool to be like a nurse practitioner holistically. But I was like, oh, I'm not going back to school.
You can come work in my clinic.
Yeah. I'll just be the personality hire. That's what I say I am.
And one thing we talked about with Claire when she was on the podcast was choosing an education route that is applicable beyond just the workplace. Because, Anne, I know that you want to be a mom one day. I know you are getting married this summer, which is super exciting. I'm so excited. And just the aspects of nursing, teaching, like those are skills that you are going to have the rest of your life. It's also a job where you don't have to go up in order to be successful. You can take a break and be home with your kids and then go back. And then you can get your master's before or after. Like there's so much freedom in that job. And especially when you choose to do it in a way that works best for you and your future family. So I just want to tell you I am super proud of you, and you have encouraged me, and I'm excited to work at your clinic one day. But
Thank you.
the last question that we have for you is, what is one decision that women can make today to mind their mission in their education?
I'd say live in every aspect of your life with intention. Make decisions about your education and your career path intentionally, and don't make decisions based off of pressure what society or your parents or advisors tell you that you need to do. It's the right path. Like, be intentional. Like, it's okay to wait and sit on it. Just be intentional and see where that takes you.
Thank you so much, Anne, for sharing so much wisdom at, like, how old are you? How old are you now?
Almost 21.
21. So much wisdom at the age of 20. And congrats on your engagement. I'm so excited for you to get married and enter that fun world of being a wife. And I'm excited to follow you through your nurse practitioner journey. So just thank you for sharing and for coming on. And thank you to everyone who listened today. If you like this episode and you want more, you can follow us, or I think you can follow us on Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube, and then leave reviews or comments, whatever you want to do. And let us know if you have anything else you want to see from us. With that, we're Erin, Liz, and Anne, helping you mind your mission.